So anyway, so I go back home. I don't know, a few months later, the letter comes, the Haggai Faculty Development Seminar would like to invite you for a 2-week leadership seminar, blah, 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 blah. And please get your passport and visas ready because we're coming for training at our head office. Guess where? In Hawaii. Again. Geez, I mean, this is getting out of hand. So anyway, so I go for the training for 2 weeks. They just train you, and while we're there, and of course, George talks too much, he engages, involves in everything, just having a good time. At the end, guys said, no, cheers, goodbye, we'll see you later. I get a letter about a few months later that says, listen, we would like to train you to be part of our faculty, international faculty, so you can be one of the international teachers. Would you like to come for training again in Hawaii? I mean, that's a cheapest. Now I want to go to the moon, just keep going over and over again. So I went back and I got trained, and one of the things that I do in my own part-time, I train internationally. I go and teach other leaders internationally in Hawaii and Singapore. And actually, I mean, if you want to take my place next time, I've seen enough of the islands of Hawaii. But it's beautiful. What I just want to say, guys, if you want to change your life, it's up to you. If you want to make a difference, if you want to live life to the fullest, it's up to you. The biggest problem is, number one, we don't know that it's up to us to do something about our lives. We don't know that. But by the time you finish today, the truth is you're going to know. And you can't blame anyone else. You will be responsible for what becomes of your life from now on going forward. I'm not really concerned about where you've come from, your history and the hardships of life. That's life. It happens to everyone. But what happens from now on going forward is your own responsibility. That's all I want to share with you. I mean, this seminar that you're going to go through has been delivered in many formats. It could be a whole day, it could be 2 hours, 3 hours. Laura has said through some of this. Is a condensed version of the condensed version. I love to talk, so we'll have fun. Let's just quickly go through this. When I say a presupposition, this is the framework that I'm going to talk to you out of. Okay? Can we rush and get some pens and pads for everyone? No, someone's going to go. I mean, you're really going to miss out. You need to jot a few notes and whatever stuff. Because, yeah. Firstly, you are made in the image of the Creator. I'm not going to question what your religion or whatever. It doesn't matter. I've studied and I've looked at Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, whatever. Every religion tells you are made in the image of the Creator. That's one thing you need to accept and understand. By choosing, it's choice. You can choose that my life is going to be great and successful. I can't choose for you. I can only share for you what I've learned, but I cannot choose for you. I would love to choose for you and just put it in your heads and let everyone live a life that they want to enjoy. But I can't do that. You can choose to do that. As I got to know how this thing works, man, every single goal and dream that I ever had, I wrote down, and things have been happening around my life. I remember once when I was young, about 5 or 6 years old. My father used to work for a haulage company. They were shipping goods and things that go to the air cargo section of the airport with their trucks. So he took us along one day, and while he was moving trucks, one old guy took us into a disused, an old cargo plane. And we just went in there, and I just said, oh man, I'd love to be a pilot, because he just was telling us all these things. I want to be a pilot. But I forgot about that. And as life went on, I said, no, I want to be a pilot, just kind of. But I always wanted to fly. It's always been a goal of mine. So once I got set on this path, I set a goal. One day I want to have my pilot license, I want to fly, and one day I'm going to have my own plane. Well, first part of that is done, because 2 years ago I got my pilot's license, so I'm a pilot. I fly, I enjoy it. 2-3 times a month I'm out in the skies and just enjoying the sky. The flight Cessnas. And one day I'm going to have my own plane, because it's my choice. I choose to do that. It's nothing impossible about it. Whatever it is you want to have. A few years ago, because I love to read, I said to myself, I'm going to get a doctorate. This time last year, I graduated with my doctorate from UNISA, because I love to do it. It's my choice. Everything I want to do with my life, I do. things happen in life, of course you respond to them. You learn how to respond to issues in life and build the life that you want. So you got to choose what you want to do with your life. And what you create out of life is your own choice. So when I say you are made in the image of the Creator, all I'm just saying, deep within you, you have the creative ability to choose the life that you want to live and to create that life. And we'll kind of bring it back to work at some stage, but we'll get there. You can think, imagine, sorry, I hit twice. You can think, imagine, work your way to new levels of success. You can do that. There's three things that you can think, you can imagine, and you work. You know, you can never run away from the need to work and the need to act on the environment that you're in, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. Whatever limiting beliefs and attitudes you have, those can be changed easily. Anything that has held you back, that was imposed on you as you grew up, that as you experience life, you begin to adopt, those things can be changed, and you can adopt empowering beliefs and attitudes to create the life that you want. Self-motivation is the only thing. I mean, I can come here and try and rev you up and excite you. That's not going to work. But until you can adopt and appreciate what I'm sharing and take that and say, this is what how I'm going to live my life, until you can motivate yourself, it can never be sustainable. Only you can motivate yourself and take yourself to a different level in life. But life can be fun. It's a matter of choice. It doesn't matter what your circumstances. It really doesn't matter what your physical, mental, health, whatever. You can choose to have the right mental disposition, the right way of thinking, and that's going to determine the way that you live life. It's all about individual responsibility and ownership. I'm not going to waste time on this, but all this simplicity, you've probably come across a learning cycle before. Sometimes when you hear things, you kind of start off and you really don't know that you don't know. That's quite a sad situation. You don't know that you don't know. You can argue out of ignorance. Okay? And that's a sad place to be. But if you accept new knowledge, so if you don't know that you don't know, just park any questions that you have and hold them for the next 40 minutes. You can ask me later if there's time at the end. But all I'm just saying, go through the process and become aware of things that you don't know about. It's good to be conscious that you don't know. But the more you engage and dwell with this stuff, the more you're going to become conscious of knowing, conscious competence. And then thereafter, the more you do it, the more it becomes a habit. It becomes a way of life, a way of thinking. I don't have to have anyone telling me to think the way that I think. It's a part of who I am. You know, I know anything that I want to achieve, I can do. I don't have anyone to convince me. Sure, I still study a lot more. I still research a bit more, a lot more. In fact, I mean, I read quite a bit. But that's part of the process. I don't need to be convinced because now it's a part of who I am. So all I'm just hoping to do is just, if I can leave you guys hugely frustrated with life, by the time we're done, then I would have done my job. You know, if you're still content with where you're at, I would not have done that. I want you to be angry. I want you to be with life, you know. I can do more, in fact, angry with yourself for not doing a lot more with yourself. But you know, the sad thing, and I do these seminars whenever I have an opportunity. I've done it to hundreds of people, in fact, thousands. Always in a group, there's always some people who are going to do something about it, and some who are not going to do anything about it. But that's good. If you don't do anything about it, I just want you to know it's your choice. You know, that's all I want you to know, that if you decide not to do anything about your life, it's your choice. You can't blame anyone because no one is responsible but yourself.